Chris Hensley is a registered representative of Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer member of FINRA SIPC, investment advisor representative of Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and Houston First Financial Group are not affiliated.
The Houston Midtown chapter of the Society for Financial Awareness presents Money Matters with your host, Christopher Hensley.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Money Matters on KPFT Houston. I'm Chris Hensley. The time is now 11 a.m. Got a great show lined up for you today. Purposeful work and passionate life are within reach, but most of us don't know where to start. Enter a new kind of hustle, one that supercharges what's possible on your path to profitable purpose. Start with your people is the step-by-step blueprint you need to fully engage relationships, love, and work and find meaningful success. Packed with strategic principles, practical tips, engaging case studies, and power habits you can put to work right away. This guide will help you lean into your home team as you move forward with clarity and confidence. Our guest today is Brian Dixon, and we will do a deep dive into his newest book, Start With Your People, the daily decision that changes everything. So please stay tuned. Keep listening. If you are a longtime listener, you know that we always reserve just the first few minutes of the show to kind of tell you a little bit about what's going on in the Houston and the Gulf Coast region when it comes to financial literacy. Now, I am a part of Houston Money Week, which is a nonprofit. Well, we work with a bunch of nonprofits, for-profits, the Community Reinvestment Act through the banks. The Federal Reserve is one of our partners. Most of the local schools, and when I say schools, I'm talking about the high schools. I'm talking about the universities here in Houston and the Gulf Coast region, even Humble and Conroe and Sam Houston. We have many partners that are under this one initiative called Houston Money Week. Now, when it's called Money Week, and it takes place in April, and it's kind of Houston's response to the Financial Literacy Month that happens nationally. But when we say Houston Week, it's actually grown over the past 11 years from one slice of the year, 1 week out of the year, to an entire month. So you'll find many different free educational financial literacy events that are focused around the month of April. And we are getting ready for Houston Money Week 2020, which I know is hard to believe because we're just now here in the end of summer, the start of the school year, but we are already starting to get ramped up with that. So I would encourage people to go to the Houston Money Week website, which is houstonmoneyweek.org. It is a dynamic website, and so if you are looking for free financial educational events that take place in Houston Gulf Coast area, there's a couple different ways to go about it. You can put your zip code in there, and it's going to show you what events that are offered by our partners year-round. So even after April, they still have events taking place each and every month. What's located near you? I know a lot of times we're past tax season, but one of many of our nonprofit partners are part of the VITA program, which offers free tax preparation for low to moderate income. Now, I know it's a little bit early to be thinking about that, but that just gives you kind of an idea of the different types of events that we have. Again, HoustonMoneyWeek.org. With that, let's go ahead and get our guest Brian on the phone here. Brian, are you there?
I'm here. Excited to be here. Hey there.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. I'm honored to be here. Can't wait to serve you guys, all you listening, wherever you happen to be. I believe that this is going to really help you with the important relationships in your life.
Absolutely. So I always start the show kind of the same way, and I'll share your bio with listeners so that they can get to know you. Now, Brian Dixon, you are also a podcaster as well as a conference speaker, a business coach, and an author as well. You have a doctoral degree from the University of San Diego. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe outside of that bio?
Oh, absolutely. So I'm a dad. I have 3 little kids. They're ages 3, 6, and 9. Been married for 17 years, and I also work from home. So I know the challenges of trying to balance work, family, life, personal goals, all those sorts of things. If you guys feel overwhelmed, busy, and often distracted by all the shiny things, I can definitely relate to where you're at.
Okay, I'm also chiming in on this because I'm checking all of those boxes as you're saying. As a solopreneur and entrepreneur, I get distracted by the shiny things as well. So I know right at the beginning of your book, which is Start With Your People, it's a new book, you reveal your difficult path to personal discovery. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yes. So I was working with a business coach, and here's the lesson real quick for those of you listening right now. It's hard for us to read our own label, right? It's hard for us sometimes to see how we're really coming across to people. And one of the best things that you can do as you're looking to increase your income, as you want to increase your impact, is to get feedback and to ask for feedback. Maybe that's from a coach, that's from a mentor, that's from family members. And so I was working with this business coach, and he said, Brian, if you want to take your life and business to the next level, you need to do a 360 assessment. And, of course, I want to take my life and business to the next level. I know many of the Money Matters listeners right now want to take their life and business to the next level, but I was unaware of what a 360 assessment was. Have you ever heard of this before?
I have not. I've heard of surveys and kind of read it, but I haven't heard of the 360 assessment.
Yeah, so imagine a circle, right, 360 degrees. Imagine a circle of people around your life, so people you work with, people you go to church with, people that are in your neighborhood, people that are in your family, people you used to work with. I have people all around your life. If they were given an opportunity to anonymously tell you, so anonymous, right, without putting their name on it, they were to tell you what they actually think of you. That's the 360 assessment right there. What am I good at? Where am I stuck? And if you could say anything anonymously, what would you say? So that was a really challenging exercise to go through.
And now, one of the things even the title of the book, you say start with your people. When you say your people, who does that include?
Yeah, so just think about how amazing it is that, there's 7 billion people in the world, and yet you only have a few neighbors. You only have a few people in your home. Right? You only have a couple different people that you work with. Even if you run a large team, you only work with like maybe a couple dozen people. So of all the people in the world, there's a small group of people, a really small group of people that are actually involved in your daily life, in your home, in your work, and in your life. So those are the people that I'd call your people, right? The people that you engage with on a regular basis.
So that's everybody almost. Or it's a limited scope, but it's including a lot of people that you have in your circle there that you're. Tell me a little bit about technology. How does technology harm or approach to putting people first?
Oh, I love that question. Technology can be the boogeyman, right? We can look at technology and we can throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, we're too distracted by technology, or there's too much negativity through social media, or the criticism I often hear is about tools like Instagram, where it's only people sharing the best parts of their life, their highlight reel, and it can kind of be depressing, right? To see like everybody's going on vacation and everybody's buying a new car, and we're trying to get right with our money and we're trying to save. And so it can often feel like social media and technology are pulling us away from our people. But I'd actually argue that when used effectively, because it's just a tool, right? It's just like a knife. You can use it for good. You can use it for evil, right? Technology in the same way can be used to build relationships, to start and grow relationships, and stay connected to the people that are important to you.
So I love that because you did mention some of the limitations, but it's a kind of a double-edged sword. It can be both good and bad, and it can also amplify those relationships and help build those relationships.
Absolutely. That's one of my favorite parts about technology. Like, for example, I was recently traveling. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I was headed to Nashville. And before Facebook, before Instagram, I would not have had the kind of relationships that I have in another town, right? So I'm headed to Nashville. What do? I post on my Facebook profile, hey, friends, I'm headed to Nashville. Is there anybody I need to connect with? So then a few of my friends who know other people that I've never met before in Nashville said, oh, yeah, you need to meet so-and-so, and you need to meet, and it gave me kind of a little list of people to reach out to. I hit their name, clicked there right there on Facebook, sent them a message, said, hey, my name's Brian. We're mutual friends with this person, and I'd love to meet you. Let's go grab breakfast. And what could have been, kind of a lonely trip, just a business trip where I wouldn't have met anybody new, turned into what I called the Epic Breakfast Club, where we had 23 people sitting around the table talking about our business, talking about how to encourage each other. And that would not have been possible without the magic of social media and technology.
I love it because what popped into my head here, even when you were telling me about that 360 interview, there was the idea of crowdsourcing, where you're going out and you're getting data and feedback. You mentioned, asking for feedback from your coaches, your family members, your peers, and the idea of social media, using that as crowdsourcing. It seems to dovetail or kind of fit real nicely with that idea.
It's amazing. If you think about it, there's no way that we can know everything. Education has changed. I have a background in K-12 education. I used to be a teacher and then a school administrator. And, the truth is school is starting to change, right? The idea of having to memorize facts, that's not helping anybody anymore because, A, we can just Google it, and B, there's more facts than ever before. There's no way to memorize everything that's important. So in the same way, we can't just hold all the information that we need. Instead, we need to use our minds for processing that information, not keeping the information, but processing that information. And technology works kind of the same way. It's a great way to process, relationships, right? To build connections with people. So just as an example, let's say that you're thinking about buying a new car. You've been listening to Money Matters. You've been saving for a while. You're thinking about buying a new car. You post on your Facebook profile, hey, we're thinking about this particular car. Does anybody else have this car? What are your thoughts, right? And you're getting real-time feedback from actual people before making a big buying decision like that.
I love it. Well, let's pivot a little bit, and this is good timing. When I was like, oh, am I going to have Brian on the show on Friday or not? I'm actually bringing in a new employee on next week, and going from a solo entrepreneur to bringing somebody on. And one of the things that you talk about in the book that's a real big theme is leadership. How did changing your leadership mindset to people first impact your business?
Oh, that's such a great question. Well, if you think about it, there is somebody right now, for you listening right now, there's somebody in your life that you might call a difficult person, right? Maybe they're the person that complains more than others, or they're the person that kind of drags their feet when they're working on a project. Or, if you could kind of wave a magic wand and have one person from your team not be on your team anymore, you know who I'm talking about, right? There's this one person, sometimes more, but let's just focus on this one person that's sort of like the weakest link in the chain, if you will. And as a company owner and as somebody who's been in leadership for quite a while, I've always sort of had oh man, there's this one person that if only I could turn her around, if only I could really empower him, things would change. And what I talk about in the book is the idea of turning towards your people. The idea is that your current team right now, including your home team, so if you're not a business person, you're listening to this still applies to you. Your home team, your business team, the team at work, the team at the company that you run, whatever you happen to do, I believe that your current team can be your dream team when you change the way you see them and you change the way you show up for them.
I love it, and thank you for including the home team as well. We just a lot of schools started this week, and we had a new parent meeting with the school, and one of the things they talked about was having home meetings with the kids. And so I was like, oh, yeah, we are a team. Family is included. I think sports is included. So that all falls under this umbrella. What are a couple of simple ways to show up and serve others of influence?
Oh, that's such a great question. You know, one of the things that people have tried to figure out in this age of social media is they see somebody that's quite a bit further than them in their career. So maybe it's the head of your company, or it's an influencer, it's a sort of a leader in your community, whether it's maybe a political figure, it's somebody up in your association, wherever you happen to be, and you're trying to think, like, how do I build a connection with that person? Because I know that relationship could open some doors for me. Maybe that's where I get my next job. Maybe that's where I get a promotion. Maybe that's finally I get that speaking opportunity or a chance to talk to that ideal client. And the challenge is, how do I build that connection? And the answer is to show up and serve. And what I specifically mean by that is going where they are. So, for example, going to that conference or going to that member meetup or going to that church or whatever it happens to be. And then while you're there, when you show up, you fix what's broken. You look around, and you can quickly identify, because each of us has our knowledge and our experience, and you can quickly identify one thing that could be improved. And that's all you do. You go there, and you look for one thing to be improved. So, for example, let's say that you were to attend. One of my friends runs a technology meetup where it's different people from different companies, and they meet to talk about their technology about once a month. So if you were trying to build a connection with the speaker at that meetup, what you do is you get there a little early. So you'd go, right? You get there a little early, and then you fix what's broken. So you look around, and you say, look at this. They need help with signing people in. So then you walk up to the table, and you say, hey, I'm here to help. Can I help sign people in? They say, great, yeah, we'd love to have some help. Or you notice that the chairs aren't set out, or the projector's not focused, or maybe people need help handing out the different pieces of paper. Like, there's something you can do to show up and serve. And what it does is it shows people that you have a heart of service. And people love to work with people who are just not just in it for themselves, but are really looking to serve. And I found that some of my best opportunities in my career, in my speaking, and my coaching have come from that attitude of humility and openness to be used and to serve people.
I love that. I'm one of these people, if I go to not just one of these networking meetings, but anywhere, if there's something to be done, it's like, how can I help? So there's things to be done. I can't sit still. So this fits really well. You talk about showing up and serving, having that humility, but looking for that one thing that's broke or that you can fix and improving it. That's huge. Tell us about what you call the triangle of credibility principle that you developed. What is that about?
Mm-hmm. So let's say you're trying to get that next position, and you're trying to make a connection with people who is a little further on than you are in your field. Well, the truth is, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. So the question is, how do you build up that know, like, and trust with this influential person that doesn't really know you at all? You don't necessarily have that reputation. You weren't recently covered in the media. You didn't necessarily win some big award. They don't know your name. So what do? Well, you need to build up that credibility. And the way to do that is to look at who is it that knows the person that I want to know. And sometimes it's a bit of a longer, the longer strategy. It's a longer plan. So who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows the person that I'm trying to meet, right? And what you do is you show up and serve the person you already know. That's where the your people part comes in, right? There's already somebody in your life right now. So as an example, let's say that you were trying to, you're trying to win a large account with the state association. Well, who do you know that is involved in the local chapter of that association? Who do you know that's a member of that local chapter? So you might not know the head of the state association. You might not know the head of the local association, but you probably know somebody who's a member. So what you do is you show up and serve for that member. And that's where the triangle of credibility comes in. So you help this person get results. You answer their questions. You fix what's broken. You help to solve their problems using your expertise. So the thing that you're actually good at, you show up for them. And what happens is they'll refer you to that next person because of that triangle. It's kind of hard to do it on the radio, but imagine a triangle, and you have these 3 points on a triangle, right? You're the bottom left person on that triangle, and then the top point of the triangle is that influencer person that you're trying to connect to. And then that bottom right corner of the triangle, point of the triangle, is the person you already know. And what happens is you serve that person, and that person can now serve as a referral for you, as a testimonial for you. And that's where you start. You don't start by trying to reach out to new people. You start with the people you already know. You serve them well with humility. And here's like the ninja part, with zero expectation that you'll get anything in return. Because it actually backfires when you expect to get something in return. You have to really show up just for the sake of the value that they're going to get. But often what happens, 9 times out of 10 what happens, is when somebody gets value from you, they want to return value back to you. And so they want to say, you've done such a great job working with me. What can I do to help you? And that's where you say, I'd love to serve the local chapter, or I'd love to serve the regional association, or, I'd love an opportunity to connect with the person at the state level. And that's how it grows, but that's the triangle of credibility.
I love it. So you actually said quite a bit there, so I'm going to kind of go through some of it because I think it was pretty important there. So you said there's always someone in your life. I've heard of kind of like these terms as your natural market or your connection chain, but we're really talking about the people that are close to you already without going outside of that circle. There's a path of least resistance. There are people that you know that are a level away or close to that influencer. And for the radio, when you said that, we always have to paint a picture. So I literally sat here and wrote the triangle out, and I've got myself here in the left corner, the person you know in the right corner, and then the influencer at the top. But I really liked being a good steward, the idea of having zero expectation of return. And funny how when you have that, most of these times things come back to you.
It does. The concept that I kind of quote there is the idea that the pebble rarely sees the ripple, right? If you imagine, the impact that we can have often can feel like a pebble in a lake, right? And you throw the pebble in, and there's this ripple effect. But you might not ever see the ripple effect of the life you're leading, and that's okay. Just trust. I'm a person of faith, so I have to say I just trust that God will multiply my efforts. So when I show up for people well, right, when I serve people well, my current clients, my people in my neighborhood, people that go to my kids' school, when I serve them, what often happens is this ripple effect of service. And sometimes that returns back to me. Sometimes somebody will say, hey, who created that poster, or who started that club, or, who wrote that email? And it sometimes comes back. But when it doesn't, it's okay, because I can still trust that there's still this ripple effect of service. And as long as people are moving forward, as long as they're receiving that service, I still think that's a great way to live your life.
I do as well. That's my personal opinion, but if everybody lived their life that way, the planet would be better than it was when you started, and when you leave, something good's going to happen in between there.
So good.
So now you talk about networking, and when networking, your favorite question to ask is, what are you working through? What does this tell you?
Oh, it tells me so much. So, it can be really easy to just focus on people that we think are going to help us with our business, right? So I've noticed that we sort of have these two modes, right? We have the on mode where we're in networking mode, or we're like showing up for our clients and we're really, really present. And then we have this sort of off mode where we're checking our phone, we're standing in line at the grocery store, we're doing our commute, and we're sort of like in this off mode. And what I would encourage you guys to think right now is that there really is no off mode, because every day we're interacting with people in our daily lives. So quick story, a few weeks ago, I'm at Target, so I'm kind of in off mode, right? I'm not thinking about what's the impression I'm making on people. I'm not trying to win a client in Target. I'm just going to pick up some supplies, just a little errand. And I'm standing in line, and the lady, when I got to the front of the line, the lady says, how are you? And I said, I'm fine. And I was about to say, how are you, right? Because that's what we do, right? How are you? I'm fine. How are you? I'm fine. And that's the end of the whole conversation. Instead, I've been using this question recently. So here's the challenge for you guys listening. Try this today. Try asking somebody, when they say, how are you? And you say, fine. Then you turn it back to them and you say, what are you working through? So not how are you, but what are you working through? And so you say it really casually. So that's what I said to this lady at Target. I said, what are you working through? And she said, I'm fine. And then she paused and she said, wait a second. You didn't say, how are you? You said, what? You asked, what am I working through? And then she told me that her teenage daughter has been home for the summer, and she was hoping to have more time to connect with her, but they've been fighting, and it's actually been really hard on her. And she hates that she has to work so much because she feels like she's losing this time with her teenage daughter. So she tells me this in the Target line, right? And I said, and she stopped herself. She said, I don't even know why I'm telling you this. And I said, it's really funny, but I used to be a teacher. I used to work with middle school and high school kids, and so I have some experience working with, students your daughter's age. Is there anything I can do to help? And so we ended up having this 5-minute conversation. It kind of annoyed the people in line, right? But we ended up having this little 5-minute conversation. I gave her a couple little strategies that she could use to really show up for her daughter while she's still home for this last year before she goes off to college. And I will never know the ripple effect of that conversation, right? It didn't lead to more book sales. It didn't lead to landing coaching clients. She's probably not the head of the association that will have me come and be a keynote speaker. But what I do know is that impacted her home. And if that impacted her home, maybe that conversation will impact the home next to her home. And maybe it'll impact her neighborhood. And that is the kind of life I want to live.
That is, you kind of the idea that you were online in that line. You weren't offline.
That's right.
You were online, and you had a very important conversation that you may or may not have known that was going to happen. So
you never know.
Let's pivot a little bit and talk about what role does your family play in your success?
It starts at home. There's so many books. I'm doing research for this book, for the new book, Start With Your People. I was looking for, business mentors, gurus, speakers, like people that have written these business books. And I was looking for the section in their book where they talk about their home. And it was hard to find. We went through several hundred books looking for, what are these business leaders saying about how do you show up for your people at home? And often, it's sort of like this mentality of my work life is my work life and my home life is my home life and never the twain shall meet. But the reality is, in 2019, we have devices where we are constantly connected to work and we're constantly connected to home. So if something happens at home while I'm traveling, right, while I'm doing my work as a speaker and as an author, if something happens at my home, my wife is going to text me about it. I will hear about it a minute later, right? We live in a fully engaged and connected world. And so the idea that there's these separations between that's our work life over here, and that's our home life over here, that line of separation is getting thinner and thinner. It's pretty transparent right now, and I think eventually it's just going to completely go away. I live in Charlotte. I'm sure this is true in Houston, too. The number of telecommuters, the number of people who get to work from home, even if it's just once a week, is dramatically rising, right? You'd agree with that?
I totally agree, yes.
So you're at home. You might even be home listening right now while you're technically on the clock, right? You're technically supposed to be, working for your company. Maybe you're listening to this in the background, or you're headed to an appointment, to a sales appointment, or to meet with a client. Where does your life stop and where does your work begin? Like, it's so integrated. And what I've realized, I've been working from home for 6 years now. So I'm a work from home dad with 3 little kids, and trying to figure out how do I show up for my kids and how do I show up for my spouse while also showing up for my clients And what I've learned is that your kids are not your liability, that they're your legacy.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Money Matters Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, visit us on the web at www.moneymatterspodcast.com. Drop us a line on SpeakPipe on the right-hand corner. It will receive any voicemails, questions, thoughts, concerns that you have about the show. In addition to this, we recently launched a Patreon campaign. Click on the Donate Now tab to hit the tip jar and find out what Patreon's campaign is all about.